Hi there. I'm doing my online submission of Chapter 13 Leadership, and so the majority of this chapter talks about being a good leader and what traits are associated with good leadership. This video is going to take a little different view of leadership, focusing on the different challenges each leader faces. For clarity and structural purposes, I'm going to use the story of Bathsheba as a foundation. So King David, was a glorious and successful leader, but his success led him to complacency. He did not believe his war strategy needed revisions or that any changes would be needed to implement success. Now, the complacency was also apparent with his reliance on his subordinates. He believed that after all his success, after all the battles he had won, his subordinates would be able and capable of executing the current strategy that David had implemented. Now, since David never left his throne and mainly sent all his troops to war without leading them, the majority of the direction and strategy was left to Job, he who was the right-hand man to David. Now, we can see this issue very clearly with companies today. The most notable example I can think of is with Volkswagen and their former CEO, Martin Winterkorn. Winterkorn took over the role of CEO in January 2007. Volkswagen was struggling. They were losing to General Motors and Toyota primarily. They needed to create a new strategy for success. Now, this was also right before the 2008 financial crisis. Now, shortly after Martin Winterkorn was tapped, he developed a plan called Strategy 2018, in which he embarked on a mission to bypass General Motors and Toyota by 2018 at all costs in terms of production, revenue, cars sold, everything. Volkswagen needed to restructure, so they chose Winterkorn as the most capable man. So now you fast forward to 2015, and he's apologizing for installing software in his diesel cars that allowed the engines to deceive financial or environmental regulatory agencies. Now, he later stated throughout the course of this ongoing investigation that there were rogue engineers who created the problem, acting as if he didn't know what was happening, and that there was the subordinates below him that made these decisions and tried to essentially deceive the entire world. But like David, Winterkorn got comfortable with his position after he showed tremendous success from about 2008, 2009 through 2014, all the way up, literally right until the emissions scandal came up. They had actually just passed General Motors and were getting closer to Toyota in terms of cars and revenue and everything. And since he got comfortable, he started to delegate more and more, and he, as David did, didn't go to battle. He didn't lead his troops. He didn't lead his company to battle. And that was not good for Volkswagen, and it was bad for the entire industry. As Dean Ludwig and Clinton O. Longnecker put it, these leaders lost their strategic focus and success. Since David had spent the majority of his time at his palace, never really leaving to go to battle, he obviously received extended leisure time where he could literally look around more and look down from his castle. And one of the days he was looking down, he saw a woman, Bathsheba. He was immediately drawn to her beauty and was curious about who this mysterious woman was. Had he not been successful in his previous battles, he would not have been able to afford this leisure time and this privileged access. As in corporate scandals today, the privileged access is supposed to be a tool to help leaders lead more effectively, not to capitalize on the system. A good example of this is with Martha Stewart and her scandal in the early 2000s. She was a large shareholder in a company that was trying to create cancer-saving drugs and formulas. And she knew that one of the drugs that was going through the process was going to get shut down by the FDA. Having this information, she chose to act, and the day before the ruling came out, she sold every single one of her 3,928 shares. Now, she was later indicted and sentenced to jail for a brief 5-month period. Now, both David and Martha Stewart tried to gain from their privileged access, but immediately received karma and ultimately paid consequences that wouldn't have happened had they tried to stay ethical. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you learned a little bit more about the Bathsheba story and some of the issues that leaders can face as they have success.